Okay, thank you for that introduction. That was, I'm blushing. So welcome everybody, thank you for being here. My name is Sigurður, obviously. The title of my talk is going to be Stop Guessing and Start Measuring. I was going to start this talk off by introducing myself, but I think that's covered already. My name is Sigurður, and you can call me Siggy, and I work as a front-end developer at Travelshift. This talk is going to be revolve around A/B testing, but I'm going to do a spin on it on things that I've been thinking about in the companies that I've worked with. So I'm going to start this off with a problem. Like was said earlier, I've been working for relatively large e-commerce companies, at least from an Icelandic standpoint, for my entire career, although short. And it was almost every single week, at least on a monthly basis, a stakeholder would come into the office or into the meeting room or wherever the team was based and would ask for some sort of improvements. And it usually looks something like this. We need to improve revenue. And it doesn't have to be revenue, it can be whatever key metrics you care about, but in e-commerce it's usually revenue or conversion rate. And it sounds really simple, but how do we do that? Well, it's an ambitious goal to improve revenue whenever you're doing it, and there's always different kinds of opinions in whatever companies you're in, but in my experience, it's usually going to be a single person that's going to dictate the conversation. And it's usually going to be this guy here. Who is this? Well, this is obviously a hippo, but the highest paid person's opinion is usually going to dictate the conversation. It doesn't have to be the highest paid person, it can be the loudest person or the one who has the most confidence, but in my experience, it's usually going to be the highest paid person who's going to decide what you're going to do. And then the team is just going to implement whatever he suggests, and then we're going to go home and we increase the revenue and everybody's happy. Right. Or is it? 2 months later, you might be looking at your data and you're not seeing the spike in revenue you expected. So we ask ourselves the question, did we actually improve revenue? Were we just assuming what our users wanted or our customers and we didn't even think about what it could fail? We could even have hurt our revenue streams. So how do we solve that? You might be thinking by now, wait, that's not how our company does things. We're a team, we do everything together. And we're really good at doing market research, and we do user testing and data analysis, and those things are incredibly powerful, and they're going to help you decide what to build, but they're not going to tell you whether what you build was actually a success. And they're not going to answer this question, did we improve our revenue? We need to find a way to confirm what the hippo suggested is correct. So how do we solve that? Well, we're going to try to solve that with a relatively old concept of A/B testing. So A/B testing is 30 plus years old, but it's gained a lot of track on the web and in e-commerce in general. That's where my experience comes from. So what is it? It's actually a relatively simple concept. There are two groups, obviously. There's going to be the A group and the B group. The A group is called the control group. What does that mean? Well, the control group is going to be the baseline in the A/B test. The A group is not going to have any change. It's going to be the same product you're trying to sell or the same page you always had, while the B group is going to include that change or a new feature or whatever you're trying to A/B test. And then we're just going to do a 50-50% split. We're going to show 50% of our users the old and outdated version and 50% the new version. And then we're just going to use predefined metrics to measure the success of this experiment. And this is extremely important. I highlighted predefined because that's the important thing. You need to think about why you're doing this A/B test. Why are you doing an A/B test that you don't know what you're going to improve? So predefining them allows you to know whether it was a successful A/B test or not. I'm going to give you guys an example, and I'm going to get this guy here to help me out. So for those of you who don't know this guy, this is Senator Bernie Sanders. He ran for the 2016 Democratic nomination for the US presidency. He's also running for the 2020 campaign. But you might be thinking by now, what does this guy have to do with A/B testing? And it actually turns out quite a lot. It turns out Bernie was the king of donations in his 2016 campaign. So what does that mean? Well, Bernie had 4 million individual donations. What does that mean? Well, he's getting 4 million individuals who want to donate to his campaign and want to see him succeed. He's not getting the backup from these large corporations that are willing to throw money at these other candidates. It's the individuals. And he's using A/B testing to do that. So how is he doing that? Well, like a lot of candidates, Bernie has a website where he's talking about his issues, where he's going to be, and trying to drive people to vote for him. And of course, donate. That's the important thing. We need money to get elected. So I'm going to give you guys an example of how Bernie was using A/B testing on his website. This is the first thing you're going to see when you go to berniesanders.com, or it was in 2016. This is just a basic cover image. You can see Bernie extremely happy. Not a lot going on. It's just a title says Stand with Bernie, and you can click 2 buttons. It's the Contribute button and the Join Us button. The next thing I want to show you is a different version of that same cover. Here you can see the picture has changed. The title is different. He's now asking for your help. Instead of standing with Bernie, he says he definitely needs your help now. And if you can read the subheading, it says, they have the money, but we have the people. So that's the driving factor in his campaign. He was trying to start sort of a revolution of some sort to the large corporations and modern US politics, and he's still trying to do that. So a slight difference in the image and the title and subheading could make the difference in the donations he's getting. Another version of it. So he was doing this extensively throughout his entire page. You don't even see Bernie here, which is pretty weird, but you see diverse people from different ethnicities, and he's changed the title again. So now it's This Is Your Movement. He's going even further with sort of the revolution point. He actually also changed the button to be green. Maybe better if the button is green, people will notice it more. But he's trying out different things. So this is something that people on the web for the past 5 or 10 years have been utilizing extensively. And Bernie definitely knows about that, and that's probably why he was so successful in his donations. He wasn't successful in his campaign though, sadly, but we'll be rooting for him for the 2020 campaign. So why is this better? You might be asking yourself, what's the difference between doing this and doing what the hippo did in the former slides? Well, think about it. Instead of having to wait 2 months to gather the data to know whether you were actually successful, you're going to be seeing these results in real time. You have both groups running at the same time, whether it's a product or a page, and you're going to be able to see point by point whether the A or the B is performing better, because you predefine these metrics, right? So you know which metrics you want to improve, and you know which group is performing better. So that's extremely important, and it lets us pivot quickly in what we're trying to do. So let's say that B group was performing significantly worse. We could see that immediately and pull that group straight from the A/B test and go back to the drawing board, instead of having to wait 2 months to find out you may have lost a lot of money. And we don't want that. We could also do the reverse. Let's say the B group was performing much better. We could release that B group, and then we would have extreme confidence in what we're doing was the right thing to do. So I hope I've convinced you that this is the better way. I want to stop here for a moment, however, and I want to emphasize that even though I've been talking about this in a sort of web e-commerce kind of way, I believe that A/B testing is actually product agnostic. So even though there's a lot of developers here, I believe you can do A/B test in all companies, whether you're a school, whether you're in retail or teaching, or whether you're trying to open up a blog. I believe you can do A/B testing whatever you can. That's what I'm going to be showing you now. So I've gathered a few examples of something I've been thinking about, and I hope it enriches your minds. So social media advertisements. This is not something I came up with. People have been doing A/B tests on social media advertisement for some time now. But I think we should be doing more of this. And the large corporations have been measuring different things. They've been measuring the post length, whether we should be having long advertisements, are people going to read that, or should we just have a small call to action maybe that sends you into the sales funnel? Tone, should the tone be light, happy, or should it be rushed? Maybe there's a discount you can't miss. Image versus video. Do people want to see images? Do they want to see video? Do they want just the text? Call to action. This is, of course, extremely important. What's going to drive your users to your store or to your web page? And I want to give you guys an example from one of my favorite companies, IKEA. So this is taken from the IKEA USA Twitter account, and it's on the 9th of January. And you can see a closet here that's extremely well organized. I wish my closet was like this. So what they're doing here is they're trying to get you onto their IKEA page and try to buy this closet because you can get your closet so organized because of that. The key is the last 3 words: start planning today. So there's a call to action. You have to get off your ass and plan your closet. 2 days later, they switched it up. So they said they changed the picture a bit, like not that cluttered picture. The closet there's less clothes in the closet. It's much brighter, that picture. And the key here is also the last 4 or 5 words: start transforming your space today. So they're saying, instead of saying get off your ass and get organized, they're sort of taking a lighter approach. You can start transforming your space. It sounds, at least to me, it sounds more easy. And IKEA has been doing, if you go to their this Twitter account, you can see like different images and text, and they're experimenting with this extensively. And I think we should be doing more of this. What about content? We all know content rules the web. It controls all of our search engines that drive our traffic into our web pages. But why aren't we measuring whether we can improve that content? What makes you think that the first version of the content you put out is the best version? And there's different things that I think we should be measuring. The search engine effect. So it's basically how much organic traffic we're getting from the search engines. How can we be certain that the first version is going to optimize your search engine organic traffic? What about the bounce rate? We obviously don't want our users to bounce. How can we prevent that? Why aren't we trying to minimize that by doing A/B tests? The percentage of content read or scrolled. So why aren't we trying to optimize them, trying to make sure that the users actually read our content? There's no point in writing content if our users are not gonna read it. So we should try to use this metric to make our content more appealing to our users. Conversion rate also. I mean, if you're an e-commerce website, conversion rate is of course extremely important. You want the content to get your users onto your page, but then you want to drive them to your sales funnels. So maybe you don't even want the percentage of content read. Maybe you don't care about whether they actually read your content. You just care about making more money, right? So I think we should be doing more of this. Pricing. This is something that I've been thinking about for a while now. I used to work for a purple airline here in Iceland that wanted to test dynamic pricing on their bags. So we all have to buy our bags when we travel with a low-cost airline. And what the purple airline wanted to do was test whether they should lower their bag prices, and thus they would sell more bags, which would end up with more revenue, or should they even increase their bag prices, which would, of course, maybe sell less bags, but it would again increase their revenue. We obviously didn't get so far, but the idea still stuck with me. So while I was doing some research for this talk, I was like Googling pricing and A/B testing of the pricing, and I came across a lot of articles saying you shouldn't do it. The reason for that is because people are worried that you'll get into some legal trouble. Why is that? Well, if you show 2 users the same product at a different price, it could be counted as discrimination. And apparently you can get into some trouble with that. I haven't personally, but there's a way around it. I'm going to show you an example. So this is a very popular streaming service, and these are the subscription plans that streaming service has. So they have 3 plans: basic, standard, and premium. And I want to draw your eyes to the basic one. That's costs €7.99, and one option I want you guys to look at is the Ultra HD option. It's not available in this plan. The B group doesn't have the basic option. They changed it to starter. So they're not going to get into legal trouble because basic isn't starter. You can't sue me. So, but what they did here as well is they changed the price, and they made sure to also change the option. So they're like trying to back it up with it's definitely not the same product. So the Ultra HD is now available. So they're going to test what effect this has on their subscription from their users. So are the people gonna move down from the standard to the starter? How is this gonna affect their sales, their total sales? That's always gonna be the goal. Another thing I want you guys to notice is we're in another A/B test in this screenshot. So here you can see that the standard plan is highlighted. If I go back to the other slide, the premium one is highlighted. So they're doing multiple A/B tests on the same maybe, 10 or 15 lines. So you can obviously see that this screen is extremely important for this streaming service. And they're trying to maximize what effort it has on their revenue streams. Packaging. This is something we love to do. Change up our packaging. We want to make it more environmental friendly. We want to minimize the cost. We want to update the design to make it more modern. And I think definitely do that. I mean, that sounds awesome. We all love a cool new product and in a new packaging. But why aren't we doing A/B tests on what effect that has on our key metrics? And I want to give you guys an example of a company that is bred into our base. We all know this company here. It's Coca-Cola. So what they did actually, and I'm not connected to Coca-Cola at all. I just think I noticed this, and I don't even drink Coca-Cola, but I noticed what they did. I think it was last year or 2 years ago. They changed the packaging of this product. So this is the 330 milliliter Coca-Cola can. I think we all probably drank from this one. But what they did is they changed it to this one. So they made it a lot slimmer, and I guess the design is much prettier. I mean, it's much more modern. But there are some things that people don't like. I mean, it doesn't really fit into your cup holder anymore. People don't like change, obviously. So what effect is this having on their sales? I'd be extremely interested in seeing if whether they did an A/B test on this, and if they did, the results of it. I'm not sure they did, but I think we should learn from it. And when we're trying to update our packaging, let's at least measure the effect it has. I don't know if your company is doing it, but I believe a couple are not. Fountain machines, another example from Coca-Cola. So you can see these fountain machines all over the US. They're awesome. You can select like 200 or 300 different types of drink. You can't see them here. But what Coca-Cola is doing is they're A/B testing the UI of these machines. So they're testing out different things. The total session time. They want to minimize the total session times because they want to make sure that more people get their drinks. The most popular drinks, they're going to be testing that. What drinks do people want to see in the user interface? And then the positioning of the drinks. This is also interesting. What happens when Coca-Cola is out? What drink are you going to replace Coca-Cola with? I hate it when I go to a fountain machine and like the drink I wanted is out and I get just water into my glass. It's super annoying. So we need to optimize this. How can we avoid that to happening? And that's what Coca-Cola is doing. As you can see, there's endless possibilities of doing A/B tests, and it's not just related to web or e-commerce. And I hope I've inspired some ideas in your brains. You probably have much more original ideas than I have, but these are things that I've been thinking about, and I hopefully I've taught you something. It does sound easy. I mean, the concept is easy. It sounds like it can be applied to whatever you're trying to do, but it turns out I'm going to break your hearts. It isn't that easy. We have a 60% failure rate for A/B tests. So that's the general rule. So 6 out of 10 of your A/B tests are going to fail. And that's going to be hard to accept, that you've been working on something for 3 or 4 months, and you have to go back to the drawing board 60% of the time. It's of course different between companies, but that seems to be the general number. Another question I want you guys to ask yourself is, can everybody do A/B tests? And this is an important question. I want to give an example on why I'm asking this. I'm going to assume we're an e-commerce company. We have a 3% conversion rate, and we want to increase it by 2%. Sounds reasonable. And we want to reach a 95% statistical significance. What does that mean? Well, it means I'm 95% certain that it wasn't randomness that caused this result. So what does that mean? Well, if you flip a coin 100 times, you could get tails 100 times in a row. The same with A/B tests. we're going to do a 50-50% split, but you could get all of the rich users who want to buy whatever into the A group, and that's going to skew the results of the A/B test. They're going to buy everything regardless of what you're showing them on the page or whatever product you're showing them. So how do we counter that? Well, with the coins, we're just going to flip it more often. Flip it 1,000 times, 100,000 times. We're going to have, the more we flip it, the randomness is going to even out. The same with A/B testing. We need more users in our A/B test to make sure we're not getting random results. And it turns out that to be able to detect a 2% increase with a 95% statistical significance, we need 4 million users. I'll let that sink in. So 4 million users. I'm not sure how many companies here in Iceland have that sort of user base or can wait to accumulate it, but that's a hit. But I want to note that if you're trying to detect a larger change, so let's say we wanted to increase it by 20%, it's going to be a significantly lower number. The math behind this is not very complicated. I'm not going to go into it here, but there's a formula you can use to generate how many users you need to detect such a change. So that's another hit we're going to have to deal with, but I don't think that we should let it stop us. So A/B testing is definitely hard. It's going to be expensive. It's going to cost a lot. It's going to cost a lot of efforts from your team. It's going to be frustrating, and you're probably going to get a lot of backlash from the business because nothing is going out because everything is failing. But we need to think about what's the alternative than doing A/B testing. We're guessing. We're guessing what our users want. We're just the same as the hippo I was talking about in the beginning of the lecture. We don't know what our users want, so we should test it. We should show them 2 different things and let them decide what they want. So if there's only one thing I want you guys to take away from what I've been talking about for these past 15, 20 minutes, is let's please stop guessing and start measuring. Thank you, everyone.